As part of a new series, what to do after graduation as part of your career. This is video number 1, where I'm going to be talking for students who've either just graduated or are entering their final year of graduation and are now soon going to start figuring what should be their first step when it comes to choosing their career. So in this video, we're going to talk about how do you narrow down on the field of finance or accounts to figure out if that's the right option for you. Now, if this is the first time you're visiting our channel, please click subscribe. We make videos like this on different finance and accounting careers and qualifications that you can avail for in India and overseas. And if you find any value in this video, then give us a thumbs up. So I have 6 points to help you guys think about how to figure out if your career should be in the field of finance or accounts. I'm going to be obviously making more detailed videos on what academic qualifications to take up if you decide to choose finance. But in this video, let's just talk about whether this is the right field for you or not. So first thing, well, obviously, if you're about to graduate, you might have had some kind of a stint with finance, some interaction with accounts, something in your graduation studies. I'm assuming you've come from the field of commerce in India, which means you've given accounting exams in your 12th. I'm sure most of these BBA, BCom, BMS courses have touched upon finance or accounts. So first question is, do you like that? Has your academic past shown you any indication if this is the right option for you? Another point in this same sub point, I would say, is to think about this. Accounts and finance is a lot to do with logic. Most people assume numbers means you have to be good at math or you have to learn a lot of formulas. Unfortunately, that's not the case. If you think about finance is how money works in the world. Now, whether you want to go and become a huge investment banker, you want to get into hedge funds, you want to work for companies and take care of their assets, most of these things require you to understand how the world works. How do economics work? If there is a war going on in this part of the country, how can it impact us? If there's a new election coming, how can it impact us? If all of this comes from detailed studies and a lot of logic. Same thing happens with accounts. Accounts is a very powerful way to track any amount of transactions, because once you get into volume, it becomes very confusing. How to maintain it, how to know if there are any leaks, how to know if looking at a balance sheet, looking at a profit and loss account, how do you read the health of a business? All of this is going to come from a place of logic. So step number 1, in your past, if you've had any good academical scores in accounts or finance, it's a good indication that this might be the case. Point number 2, work experience. As a cliche, whatever it might be, it works the most. If you are not sure, I was talking to my younger sister yesterday, cousin. She was, she's working in a company in Bombay and she does a lot of financial modeling and all. It's becoming monotonous for her since a while. And I was telling her the same thing, that, the understanding that you get by working is good enough for you to know if this is the path for you or not. So before I started working in any capacity, I used to think accounting is my favorite, genre. But I realized very quickly that no, I'm better at certain other things. Once I started working, once I realized the difference between what textbooks have taught us and what happens in the real world is a big eye-opener. Oh, okay, I like or I don't like this. I would highly recommend that genuinely for 6 months without changing the job, find a company and start working in it. It can be from your reference of somebody in your family. It can be an internship. It can be of no pay. Please don't be in a rush to earn when you're figuring out your career. Point number 3 was reading a lot of books to figure out if I like it. So the classics, right? You have your Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You have Finance for Non-Finance. And you have slightly more interesting books, So yeah, books has all. I remember the pandemic, I read a book called Let's Talk Money by Monica Hallan. It's on personal finance and it gave me a new appreciation of how finance works, right? Books has also given me a lot of inspiration. I think if you're confused, finishing 1 to 2 books a month is not that hard when you're investing in your life. So that's another option. Next is, of course, networking, right? Like you're watching this video, whether you go on LinkedIn and find folks, I made videos on how to network via LinkedIn. You will be surprised that if you reach out to random people and ask them for help, how many of them say yes. And you can ask them the silliest of questions. What will be my salary package? What happens if I fail? What if I don't like it in a few years? What happens if I want to move overseas? What if I want to get into finance? People have answers to everything. And beyond networking, right? At Zell, we have so many students and faculties, thousands of them, who have gone through what you've gone through. So you can reach out and just talk to people, gives you more clarity on whether finance or accounts is the right field for you. I remember when I used to watch certain entrepreneurial movies, it spoke to me in a different way, which gave me sort of the belief that maybe that's my path. When you watch some finance or accounting related movies, and in the middle of the entertainment, you get a sense. So if you've seen, there's a show called Billions. All these in the middle of the fun and the characters, there are ingredients of finance and business. And if you like that, right, okay, all right, this might be something that you can actually take up. Last point I have is, if you are about to graduate and you don't know what you're going to do, you're most likely going to run towards an MBA. Again, consistent to every video I've ever made, I have a couple of basic rules if you want to take up MBA. One, if you don't take up MBA from the top 20 institutes, don't do it. It's a waste. But most people do MBA because they feel it's the only option. I've done nothing in my graduation, I'll do an MBA. It won't help most of us. What will help is that instead of breaking your head over MBA, which you can also do a little later once you have more clarity, you instead start working on, like I said, read some books, meet some people, start doing some form of work, just get out in the real world. If you can borrow some money from your dad and you know how, for example, the stock markets work, take 10,000, 50,000 rupees, whatever is okay, invest it for 6 months along with reading, along with working, and just overload yourself on the field of finance or accounts. By the end of it, you will know whether you want to progress in this field, whether you want to close doors, or whether you are still confused and need more time. So I think that, guys, if you follow these many, steps, I think it's more than enough. It's also not for a very long period of time, right? You've already spent 20, 21 years of your life not knowing what to do. Spend 6 months in really trying to narrow it down. And I hope you get some comfort. And in a few years, some of y'all found this video as a pivotal moment to figuring out what your career should be.